on, everybody? It's your pal Spaz Phoenix, along with Kristen. This is Flix Fix, and we're going to knock out 3 episodes of WandaVision, because it's been a minute. Kristen, what's up?
Doing good. It is my fault? Well, no. It is the fact that Texas heard that on Groundhog's Day we were going to have 6 more weeks of winter, and Texas was like, fuck that, we're just going to stick it all in like 4 days. So,
yeah.
And I'm not joking when I say the entire state shut down, basically.
Yeah, you've got pretty legitimate reasons for having to bail when you have to bail.
We didn't have water, or we didn't have power for 4 days, and about 2 days into not having power, we ran out of water. So we were like melting snow to use the toilets and shit. It was... I didn't feel like it was that bad, but apparently when I tell people this shit, they were like, holy fuck.
I mean, if you're
apocalypse.
If you're okay with a snow toilet, then I guess you're okay with anything.
I mean, I'm okay using water if I need to. I'm okay using the snow if I have to.
I just think it's funny the fact that, like, you and I usually bounce back and forth on the messenger and be like, hey, so we good to go tonight? And you're like, hey, so, no power. Okay.
Yeah, we were charging our phones in our car or off of, my boyfriend has a bunch of UPSs that our computers are plugged into. And so when the power went out, he immediately unplugged everything from the UPSs, and that's how we would charge our phones. Or we could we could plug in a crock pot into one of the UPSs to, like, warm things up if we had to. But, you know, we only had them for... So we had to ration out when to use the UPSs.
It doesn't sound like fun, I'm not going to lie.
It was not. I did not enjoy it. I didn't like having to, like, be under 7 blankets to, like, because our house didn't have any fucking power.
I'm not supposed to see my breath inside.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, I'm just saying, like, a lot of people... critics of mine mostly would probably say that sitting on a snow toilet is still better than being stuck on a podcast with me, but I think 3 episodes of WandaVision versus snow toilet, I think you've got the better deal this week.
I did. We finally got power back, so.
Yeah. So this is going to be a little...
We have water too. We have to boil it to drink it, but we have water.
There you go.
So no more snow toilet.
No more snow toilet. That is awesome. So this is going to be, we were talking about this before we came on, this is going to be a little different than the first couple of reviews we did, because I have a bunch of notes for one episode, and then some jot notes for another episode, and then no notes for the episode last night. So it's going to be sort of a scatter shot of, like, what do we think we need to talk about. We are, of course, reviewing a very special episode, Halloween Spooktacular, and Breaking the Fourth Wall, the episodes 5, 6, and 7, I believe, of WandaVision. So I'm gonna start spitting out random stuff that I like, and you can pop in and spit out random stuff that you like. Going back to on a very special episode, which was now 2 weeks ago. My brain hurts. It's fine. We sort of do this half and half thing between the 2 different worlds inside the world. Wanda's kids keep aging up and, like, showing that they can do it on their own, and she's not it's in her world, but she's not controlling it, which is where things just start to disintegrate a little bit. On the outside, we've got Rambo trying to explain to, like, the rest of the people on the outside what Wanda's world is like, and the fact that she's created it, and how we're all changing and whatnot. And both of them are, like, I think there's a weird dichotomy between the 2 of them, because Rambo's come out and she's trying to explain to a bunch of people that don't get it what's going on, and Wanda...
There always has to be somebody that's like, that doesn't get it, but yet we're gonna do it the way we want to do it anyways.
And the head agent guy, whose name I can never remember, I think we had this same problem last time, he basically is prototypical TV boss dick. Because he's not listening to anything anybody's saying. He's basically trying to label Wanda as like a magical terrorist.
Terrorist.
Yep. We get into it later on down the line. I don't even have anything in order, but we get into the fact that she's come out of the world and, things come out differently and all that kind of thing. And they basically figure out that what you turn into when you're in there is what you were when you came out. It's just been like reorganized and whatever. And long story short, her pants are made out of bulletproof vest, and she shoots the pants.
Her pants and shirt.
Yes. It's a very weird way to explain like how things are. Like, you didn't just turn into like 80s chick with the big blowout pants. Like, those pants are what you wore on the way in.
I think they were in the 70s.
70s, sorry.
Point.
Yeah.
Because the 80s was... Actually, no. Maybe it was... I'm trying to remember what everybody was dressed like. I think the 80s was the episode after she got thrown out of the hex.
Right. But she's still...
Because now we're in the... No, wait. Okay, so the episode... Sorry, I'm trying to think. This recent episode, I'm not trying to... was like the 2000s. Like The Office kind of stuff.
Well, The Office / like Malcolm in the Middle / Modern Family type stuff. But this was...
and so the episode before was the 90s, where it was like Full House, basically.
Oh yeah, the Halloween. There's a lot more to talk about in the Halloween episode. That's why I'm just sort of trying to knock the first episode out.
Keep going.
Basically, it's a internal, like, things are falling apart type thing. The neighbor glitches out at one point because she offers to babysit the kids because they're not behaving or whatever the case may be. But then she freezes and she's like, oh wait, do we have to start that scene again? Which I thought was really cool. That was the Agnes character, who now we know a whole lot more about after this week's episode. We'll talk about that in a second. But she sort of like acknowledges that she's not in the real world, and then Vision is at work because obviously the robot works at the computer company still, even though we've jumped a couple decades, and his coworker like glitches out, and it's like you got to let us out of here.
He's able to like. He gets a message on the computer, like, sword stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
it's from Darcy.
Then Vision, it's from Darcy. Vision touches him to try and read his mind, and it basically unlocks his real personality, not the one that, like, Wanda's, like, put over them.
Yeah, and basically he's talking about it like it's an escape. You got to stop her. Like, she's making us do all this weird stuff. I do like that they keep doing that, though. I do like that they keep tying his powers to her powers. That works on a bunch of levels. Their powers come from the same stone. Basically, he's alive right now because she recreated him. So for her to create a problem and him to have the ability to unlock it, I think is a really neat story thread that they've been doing before now, but it still just works just as well now. But no, I love the email thing. I love the fact that as they jump through the decades and they go through the different forms of technology, they keep finding ways to communicate with people inside the hex. And obviously, in the early days, it was with the radio, and then so asshole friggin' agent boss guy decides that it's a brilliant idea to send a drone into the hex.
Well, no, they send the drone in first to try and talk to him. The agent asshole guy was the one that's like, yeah, let's put a missile on it. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and it did a bunch of things. Like, it's stupid because
and they figured out how to send things in that wouldn't like be morphed, and they had to be from.
I was gonna say, to not be taken back into that time, it had to be like from that time. It was a really
so
they really kind of yada over
like
that.
The 80s, basically.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, here's this person that's created a whole separate world, but yeah, she's gonna like laugh in the face of you like trying to launch a missile at her. But
that's when that was the episode where we have Wanda come out for
the
first time, and she has the accent again and everything.
Because she had to step out. She had to step out at one point because, everything else changes and whatever, but I think it's kind of funny. Like, she can, like, it's her world. She can create whatever the heck she wants, but she is back to her real self when she comes out as well. Like, you figure she's the one creating it, so she wouldn't necessarily be changed by it, but they did do that. And she basically dragged the drone behind her and was like, yo, here, take your shit. And when he tried to, like, quote-unquote handle her, like, she mind-controlled, like, all his guys and, like, all the sights and all the laser aiming, whatever you want to call them, laser sights, turned to him, and she's like, yeah, I'm giving you one warning, like, don't fuck with me type thing.
Yeah. She's like, you get the fuck out, basically.
Sorry, I'm going through my notes for a second. That's
fine.
not exciting
like I said,
audio.
A lot's big things happened in like each episode.
I love how it's not a big part of the story, but I love Darcy's like mission to get everybody to refer to like Wanda's anomaly as the Hex. Like takes on in like a minute.
Going to be a thing.
Right before they have that scene with the drone and the missile and all that sort of thing, we do have the retelling of the Wanda story. Like, they have their big like head table meeting, like, how are we going to deal with this? And he keeps trying to paint her as like the bad guy, the villain, whatever. And each time,
because Agent Wong was like, that would be a gross simplification of everything. Not Wong.
Wu?
Agent Wu. Yes, Agent Wu.
Wong was the character from Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Although there's characters from everywhere in this, so if he shows up at some point, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, he's trying to explain everything, and then they bring footage of Wanda actually going and stealing Vision's like corpse.
I did like that though, because that
did Sword headquarters.
That did tie into everybody that's been making sort of like, well, he's dead, so she's only pretending he's alive. So everybody's done like the Weekend at Bernie's memes, and then because she did, I think in a previous episode that we talked about, she saw him as like the dead version of himself, which was kind of like the closest thing to creepy that we've had so far on the show.
Yeah.
And then we get into the whole other sub-story of her kids are like starting to figure out that things aren't what they seem, but also they get a dog. And the dog's name is Sparky because it bit a power outlet, which is like which is a cheesy line, but it works because it's on a sitcom, and sitcoms are full of cheesy lines. And this thing is like introduced and dies in the same episode.
Yeah, in the same episode. I have comments about that later.
I mean, I want to think that it's a sort of a comment on like how disposable characters are, but
well, no, I continue.
Because all this is happening while the twins are figuring out that, you know, not everything's as they seem. Maybe not everything that Mom is saying is 100%, you know, true. And when the dog dies,
and they acknowledge that she can bring things back to life.
Well, this is the thing. It's like when the dog dies,
they're just like, yeah, bring it back to life, Mom.
Because don't they say at one point like you did for Dad, or did I imagine that?
I don't think they said you did that for Dad. I think they said you've done it before.
I mean, and it's so funny because they lean so hard into her being a hypocrite. It's like, no, you have to understand that some things are forever, some things you just can't go back for, and da 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 da, and you know you can't, you sit there and you be sad and you don't try to change it, which is in entirely antithetical is the word I'm looking for to what she's been doing the whole show so far. So she's playing herself out to be a big hypocrite. Like she's sad that her kids are sad. She's sad that she has to be a hypocrite to them. And I mean, as far as a setup for the final big bang at the end of this episode, it sets it up quite nicely and quite ironically. But before we get to that, you have something to say about the dog, I'm sure.
No, it's later on.
It's later on. Oh.
Yes.
Like in a later episode.
Yeah, like in a later episode, yeah.
Oh, okay. Honestly, the other thing that happens with the kids when they're talking about like who's you know died and what's Mom talking about and what's she all sad about, whatever, because we saw, what was it, 3 or 4 episodes ago when Rambo asked her like, weren't you a twin too? Like, didn't Ultron kill your brother? So the kids start asking about him, and it's like, oh no, he's not dead, he's just far away, which sets us up for the final big big finale.
Yeah, the big twist for that episode.
The big twist for that episode, but it also comes at a really weird time because when they have the dog, and I should have said this when we were talking about the dog, she sort of like magics up a dog collar for the dog because like, oh, I guess it's going to be our dog now, and she does it with the neighbor there, and Vision sort of says like what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I thought we weren't doing that in front of people.
Yeah, and she's, oh, well, it's about time that I be my real self, and you should be your real self, too, and da-da-da-da, and then after him being at work all day and finding out that, like, what all this is, because he only has memories from within the Hex, because it's not the real him, right?
Yeah, he can't remember anything before the Hex.
Which they remedy in 2 episodes with Darcy and a bunch of exposition, which is awesome. But they're in the middle of a fight, and the two of them just look like they're going to rip into each other, where you're watching it. It's like, okay, cool, magic fight. Like, okay, you're awesome, you have powers, go. And it gets broken up by the doorbell. But first, before that, I love the fact that she tries to change the reality so much that in the middle of their argument, she tries to roll the credits of the show.
Yes.
I thought that was so key. Like, the whole scene could have kept going, and it could have done everything that they do that we're going to talk about in a second. But the fact that she thinks, I'll just roll the credits, and we'll just go into tomorrow. And he's like, no, and he shakes it off. And I'm like, that of everything that they've done so far as the sitcom setup, I think that's probably the best gag that they've had. Other than, like, the previews the commercials and whatnot.
The commercials, yeah.
What is it? I don't know which episode it is, but the Lagos paper towels.
Yeah.
For the messes you didn't expect to make, because she blew up Lagos.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
But the end of that episode that you're talking about is her brother, quote, comes into town, but it's not the Pietro from Age of Ultron. It's the Pietro from X-Men, like the Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Series.
The one that's Magneto's kid.
Yeah, the one that's the Quicksilver from that X-Men group.
And I don't know whether this was just me. I never watched what's it called with the Fonz on it. I never watched like Happy Days or anything like that. But I know the stereotypes. And the way he comes in and it's like, hey, what's going on? Don't you have a hug for your brother? I'm like, that came out of nowhere. Like, that's not either of the Pietro Maximovs. Like, that doesn't work at all. But it was really cool because everybody, obviously, with that being the drop-off point, is like, oh my god, this is the introduction to X-Men, and we're going to bring all the X-Men in.
They're like, does that mean, in my mind, I was like, does this mean all those X-Men movies are in canon now? Like, is that a thing?
And I mean, now we know it's not. Like, what I wanted, and it's sort of weird for us to talk about a cliffhanger 2 weeks late, but what I really wanted out of this was to be some kind of metaphor where it's like, she's creating these people that she's lost out of the best bits of her memory, and her memory's not perfect.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about that is that even like, okay, so Pietro shows up and Darcy's, watching the thing on watching WandaVision.
Yes.
On the TV.
Oh my God, they recast Pietro.
She recasted Pietro.
It's so good, and I think it's we said it before. I know we said it in the last podcast, but it's gonna go so under the radar how good the Darcy and Jimmy group are, because they create this outside thing where they know it's not really a sitcom, but they're still into the sitcom, and
yeah, they're still into the sitcom,
and it's such a little like it's like endearing to a certain degree, because the two of them were sitting there at the monitor. They're supposed to be monitoring what's happening in this anomaly and trying to figure it out and be all scientific and shit. But like when she had the twins, they're like sitting there eating the popcorn and Jimmy's crying, and I'm like, you couldn't, like, this show is so unique in that you can know it's real, treat it like it's fake, and even while you're treating it like it's fake, treat it like it's real. Mm-hmm. Like, the concept of this, like, blows my mind to a certain degree, because it's a show about a show, but even the show in the show is real. But yeah, no, that was a big cliffhanger, and we would have had a whole podcast to say, oh my god, what are they going to do with this, and speculate and whatever. But
then we didn't. So
but then we didn't. So just 10 seconds silence. Oh my god, what are they going to do now? what they're going to do
They're
now.
They have the Halloween episode that every sitcom has.
They're going to have the Halloween sitcom that every sitcom has, but also this is the episode that made up like most of the initial trailers. When we first got the Comic-Con announcements, when we first got the announcement that this show was happening, so much of it was from this episode, if for no other reason than they're in like mock-ups of their actual comic costumes.
Mm-hmm. I like how they explain those too in this episode as well.
Oh yeah, because what did she say? She's a Sokovian fortune teller or something like that?
She's a Sokovian fortune teller, and he is a luchador, a Mexican wrestler.
Yeah. I kind of want which Spider-Man was it where he's like in the cage fight with Randy Savage?
I think that's the first one with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. So now we need to like resurrect Macho Man Randy Savage, and we need to have Bonesaw versus Vision. It's not going to happen, obviously, but it's kind of like me still wanting my fight between Hulk, the Thing, and Drax. It's probably not going to happen, but it's fine. All the tropes of the Halloween episodes. One of the things we didn't mention, in the fight with her and Vision was like he's basically calling her on the fact that she's created this whole world for herself, and that's why there's no other children around. So. Oh
yeah, he mentions how there's no other. He goes, why are our kids the only kids in town?
Yeah, because he's really specific though, because he's like I drive past that school every day on the way to work, and I never see any other children. So clearly now you do a Halloween episode so she can pull a bunch of kids out of her ass.
Yeah. I noticed that. I'm like, hey, look, there's a bunch of kids now.
There's a whole bunch of he has to go be part of the neighborhood watch, which was, not the neighborhood watch at all. I'm going to jump around because this is one of the coolest things of the episode, but also it happens towards the end. The idea of Vision trying to escape the Hex and trying to tell the people outside what's going on while he's literally falling apart in a reality where he's not alive anymore. Visually, probably one of the coolest things they've done on the show so far, but also kind of legitimately heartbreaking because he does look terrified. It's hard to say because he's a robot, but Paul Bettany is like all over the place with this character, and I think it's kind of fucking awesome. It's also kind of funny
I wonder if they're going to explain that at some point, because we've already established that things that come out of the Hex, like. Well, I guess Vision's the one thing because it technically doesn't exist anymore in the Hex.
Well, the thing is,
or he does, because we talk about how she brought his body. Clearly his body is in the Hex. And things that go into the Hex can come out how they were, but they come out as how they were in the Hex. So it's slightly confusing from a narrative standpoint how...
I do think they can. I do think they can draw a sliver of difference between the two, because him being alive again was created as part of the Hex world, as part of that reality, whereas the other people like Monica Rambeau are people who came from the outside into that reality and back again, whereas they weren't part of it. Like, I'm gonna guess we're gonna get to the end and we're gonna see a flashback to her actually creating this universe, and it's gonna be her basically giving him a live skin again, for lack of a better term, and then creating a world around them. So I think that's not very different.
I mean, I'm gonna be pretty frank with how intrigued I am with the episodes and how it keeps me in and everything, and I'm like, oh fuck, now I have to watch the next one. Basically, whatever, unless it's like the shittiest bullshit where they're just like, because fuck off. That's why. Basically, I'm probably gonna be okay with it.
Well, see, and I thought I had figured out their way around that, because obviously you got to wonder what happens to Vision if the Hex goes away, and you got to wonder what happens to the kids I'm gonna put this down right now. Those kids make it out of the Hex. Can't call Vision, but those kids make it out of the Hex, just because we already know Hawkeye
is training his daughter.
Oh yeah, they're setting up the Young Avengers for sure.
Yeah, they're setting up Young Avengers.
Spider-Man,
so.
the new Black Widow. What else is there? There's some Cassie Lang.
Yes, Cassie Lang. Yeah, so they're
Apparently we're getting Ironheart eventually, which
cool. I'm intrigued by it.
I don't know. Iron Man was probably the best cast of the initial Avengers members.
Well, they have, for me, when it comes to casting, they haven't fucked up so far. So I'm gonna let them roll with it.
I mean, the only one I could sort of go with not would be Paul Rudd, but that's because I don't like him and I don't really care for the character, so that's sort of a 1-2 punch. So I'm trying to be fair at how I look at that. Although, news today, I mean, we should say we're recording this on February 20th. News I read today, the hold-off rights for Punisher and for Jessica Jones have expired with Netflix.
Yeah,
so they'll be in something soon. I'm super excited. We already talked about in one of our previous podcasts about the whole Daredevil coming into Spider-Man thing, but I'm sorry, Punisher and Jessica Jones are way higher on the list for me. I know Daredevil is something you're looking forward to, but and I mean, then all they have to do is bring over Iron Fist and you're fine.
And hopefully fix him.
So what you're saying is he needs an iron fix?
Yes, he does need an iron fix.
Nice.
He let's continue because I don't want to go negative because I love this WandaVision show.
Yeah, you do.
It's fucking awesome. And
I just had to throw some Iron Fist in there.
I'm totally stoked for Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. It looks like almost buddy cop kind of, but they're not cops, they're heroes.
Yeah, I guess this is as good a spot as any to let people know that seeing as we've kind of done every other week reviews for Wanda anyway, due to our schedules being messed up and whatever, we are just going to intentionally set a system in place where every 2 weeks we're going to do 2 episodes. That'll be the thing going forward for Falcon and Winter Soldier as well. Some weeks off will just be a week off. Some weeks off we'll do some other do some other content or review a movie. I know we're still looking at doing Unbreakable Split Glass at some point, but also there's current movies coming down the pike. I will say, on a scheduling note more than anything else, I think it's kind of cool that we have the end of WandaVision and then 1 week off, and then the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and somewhere in the middle, HBO is dropping the Snyder Cut. So, depending on how that goes, depending on how that goes and how much of a talking point it is, we might come up and talk about that. I know I'm springing this on you on the fly. We did not talk about this, but if it's worth talking about, maybe we'll have a talk about it, and then we'll start Falcon and Winter Soldier with episode 2, doing episodes 1 and 2. So, yeah, those of you that have noticed we're only kind of doing this every other week, it's actually the thing now.
Yeah, I'd like to say we were doing it on accident before, but usually shit would happen.
Yeah, you mean you like to say we were doing it on purpose before, but we weren't.
Yeah, we weren't. We were not doing it on purpose before.
Yeah. But also, like, when we tried, it turned out that we were doubling up our work and cranking out like 2 podcasts in a night, which is also not always feasible.
One of the podcasts always suffers when we do that.
Well, one of them
is clearly more energetic than the other one.
Well, the other one was Joker. So, WandaVision was a lot more energetic.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, getting back to what we were saying, the Vision Escape was awesome. They were doing the fourth wall breaking sitcom style, which I think is really good. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. The way that
hang on. Before we go to that episode, I don't think we talked about the end of the episode before. So Vision is trying to get out.
I'm still talking about the Halloween episode.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because they did the fourth wall break, especially with the kids talking about, Mom's been weird recently, ever since Uncle Pietro came along.
Oh, okay. All right, continue.
Anyways, no, the fourth wall stuff is kind of fun, and I just want to double down again on what I said before. The fact, it's more so Elizabeth Olsen, but also Paul Bettany. The way that they have seamlessly gone from 50s tropes to 60s tropes to 70s tropes, 80s tropes, and balance that out with playing their real characters at the same time is insane. and the way they switch gears once again and start doing the straight to camera first person shot type stuff, it just continues that, but it's worth saying again because every time they do it, it makes it more true. I'm just fawning over these characters because they're great. Don't mind me. We start seeing the twins have powers.
Oh, by the way, I was about to say the twins' costumes are also very reminiscent of their Marvel costumes as well.
I'm not gonna lie, I loved all of them. Vision's kind of looked like pajamas. Like Vision's looked straight up like pajamas, but like Wanda's looked like, if it didn't look so cheap, it could be an actual thing. But a
lot of people are now drawing her with the headgear.
Yeah.
Her regular Marvel costume, but with the headgear.
Yeah, because the thing is, whatever her like,
it doesn't look cheesy at all.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can draw a fine line between what they had before, which was just her in clothes that happened to be mostly red sometimes, and her having somewhat of a hero costume, but not going like full cartoony with it. Like, they will find, and Marvel's earned it from us at this point, they will find a happy medium in that mix. Like, I mean, switching over to the other side for a second, look at something like DC. Jason Momoa does not look like cartoon Aquaman.
No.
Much to the delight of all the ladies out there, I'm sure. But I just thought this was a way to go totally silly and enjoy the cartoony aspects of those characters in a way that didn't actually make them look goofy, because we know within the context of the episode that they're not real. And I thought the way this show goes and the way this show warps around, and it kind of sucks because when we get to Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to feel a lot more plain and a lot more gritty by comparison. Creatively, there's nothing that they can't do on WandaVision, because they'll either explain it away with magic, with multiple realities, with you're inside the hex versus you're outside the hex. Creatively, I don't think there's anything they can't do on this show. But then on top of that, to be able to do something totally goofy like the Halloween costumes here, like, it must be such a fun show to work on. I would imagine.
I would imagine as well. This whole time, too, in this episode, Pietro is being like, what? He's being the brother that, like, the deadbeat brother, I guess. The one that, like, never grew up. It's like, oh, Uncle Pietro, like, lives in our basement. And plays video games all the time.
He's being Joey from Full House.
Yes.
He's like, I want to say he's being Uncle Jesse, but he's more being Joey from Full House. He's like the other cool guy that lives in our house, which is funny because that had Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen on it, who were twins. Now you've got their sister on this show, who's a twin who had twins. Hey, it all works. It's all good, and she's the only sister I think we talk about now, because I don't think the other Olsen sisters do anything anymore.
I think they helped. I think one of them is a producer on this show.
I know okay, as weird as this sounds and as weird as this is for me to know, I think they like dropped out of acting and did like fashion for a while. I don't know anything past that. I mean, like, the two of them played one baby on a show like forever ago, and to the point where they didn't even come back when the thing became a Netflix thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of them was a producer or some sort of contributor on this show. They get to work with their sister. Like, how cool is that? Like, the Russo brothers aren't doing too bad. But yeah, no, he's definitely the Joey character. He's definitely like, because Vision has to go out and do the neighborhood watch thing, he's like, oh, you need a strong, manly figure for your episode. Hey, let Uncle Pietro step in. And one of them's obviously dressed up to be exactly like him because it's Speed. The other one, that's Wiccan, is not really dressed like Wanda, but more similar to her. So there's your visual cues of what their powers are going to be eventually. Get later on into the episode and you see him having his, like, sort of a mental fit because he knows that his dad's in trouble because his dad tried to escape and is literally falling apart in front of us. Pietro and Speed, I don't know the actual names, so I'm going to go Wiccan and Speed because it's easier to remember.
Yeah.
They're speeding around, they're getting all the candy, they're making all the mischief or whatever, but I like the fact that Wiccan, when he realizes something's wrong, he's able to just raise his hand up and stop his brother's speed force. And be like, no, you gotta stop, we gotta, like, figure out what the fuck's going on. And the dumbest thing, and this is where we get once again into, like, who knows that they're on a show and who doesn't, who's, like, trapped in the reality and who's not. When Pietro is like, oh, don't worry about it, sis, it's not like your dead husband can die twice. And she, like, blasts him across the...
3 times.
3 times?
He dies... Yeah, he dies twice in, Infinity Wars. Wanda kills him the first time.
But does he die twice though? Because the first death is undone. So if you looked at it,
he dies twice.
If you look, no,
because they rewind. Husband can't die 3 times.
They rewind time so that he's still alive, so that Thanos can kill him. So if you look at the timeline after that correction, there's only 1 death, and I'm just being a dick.
He's the only
I'm just being a dick.
Stop.
Okay, we could take any movie with time travel and have that kind of argument, and that could be the whole podcast. It's why stuff like this gets a lot of latitude. Like, anything gets wiped away with magic, or time travel, or multiple realities, or... So when you got just a guy with wings and a guy with a metal arm going around beating people up...
Maybe I was wrong. I think I must have seen something, different, because they're not showing up as anything right now.
What do you mean?
And I was still looking up if Mary-Kate or Ashley were producers on the show, and I was just like, I think I fucking made that up. I could have sworn that I saw their name in the credits.
It is one of those cool things to know. Like, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I was really into what's it called? Why is my brain not working? Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And people that have been following this channel long enough will remember when me and Bird actually tried to start reviewing episodes of Walking Dead, and then that kind of didn't go anywhere, and then life got in the way and whatever. But if you follow the story of The Walking Dead, the amount of actors, both currently on the show and actors that have died on the show but still come back, that have come back and produced an episode, or directed an episode, or written an episode, is kind of awesome. Because it's kind of the whole industry sort of recycling itself. A great wrestling example would be Corey Graves. Got injured way too early in his career, so immediately they tried him out in that commentator role, and now he's awesome. Mm-hmm. No, I love hearing shit like that. So if it turns out that one of the other Olsons is working behind the scenes on this show, I'll love to hear that, because that's an awesome little...
I think I fucking made...
You think you made that up?
All up. I think I... dreamed it or something, because when I type Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen WandaVision, it's just a bunch of articles being like, oh, they had like an episode like the Full House quote episode,
yeah,
and are they gonna make like a cameo?
If there comes a point, you know what it is, now that you mention that, you know, in the big fight with Thanos, when Doctor Strange fights Thanos and he makes like 100 of himself to fight Thanos. If Wanda does something like that, and she's in a fight and she needs help, and she like splits herself into 3 pieces, and it's her and her 2 sisters, but like made to look similar enough that they could just be like pieces of her, I think that would be really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think they're like, that's not. Let's see. Responds to speculation about Mary-Kate and Ashley making a cameo. I've gone full into the rabbit hole now.
Nice.
Anyways, continue.
I was going to say, are we just going to listen to you Google like we listened to you close the door that one time?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm literally going by jot notes at this point, but sometime in this episode, talking about the real world, talking about the sword agents outside the Hex, we did get the sort of the reveal that Rambeau has powers because she went through and came back, and she's been like,
could have powers.
At this point,
she doesn't have powers yet. They basically open the door for her to have powers because it rewrites her like DNA on like a cellular level.
Yeah.
Shit.
But like they pull out like a cat scan, and it's supposed to be like a scan of all her brain activity, and it's just like a blank page, and all her readings are off, and it's like, oh, we need to take these readings again because these are clearly wrong. And she's like, well, no, I've got stuff to do.
She's
and then
like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
And then Darcy comes back later on and says like, no, if you go back through the hex again, like this might be a bit fucked. Like it is what it is. But that's sort of thrown in randomly as inside the hex we have,
I think that's a nod for the comic book enthusiasts, because I mean,
well, they do.
Monica Rambeau is Proton.
Photon.
Photon?
Yeah.
I think I said. Did I say Proton?
Yeah, you did. I'm watching way too many other people's YouTube content on this. That's the only way.
You're probably right.
Well, if I'm right, it's because other people that I'm watching are right. I can't even take credit. So yes, here comes that point in the podcast where I tell you guys.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Here comes that point in the podcast where I say, if you want other content like this.
Photon, Pulsar, and then later she debuts as Spectrum, which is an internet provider.
Okay.
I mean, not in their universe.
Okay,
in our much lamer universe.
I was gonna say, if her power is internet, like, what does she do? She shoots porn beams at people. But I will say, just because there are
X-Men with internet powers,
just because there's people out there that hate when I say this, I'm gonna reference my sources. Go check out What Culture. Go check out Emergency Awesome. And for that one guy in the comment section, go check out CinemaSins, because they're all awesome, and they're where I get 90% of my information from. Carrying on, what's the response to Vision leaving the Hex and basically dying? We expand the Hex so that he's not outside the Hex anymore.
Yeah,
and
the one that ends up being Wiccan is his name.
Yes.
He's like, something's happening with Dad. You have to save him, kind of thing. So she just makes the Hex bigger.
Yeah, she freezes everything
for the next episode.
She does. It does.
So it pulls Darcy in, and it pulls a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and they
turn into a circus.
Yeah, and it turns into a circus.
I will say though, and I know it was supposed to be really intense and really like action packed and a tense moment and whatever, when the Hex is expanding and Sword is retreating, it really just does look like a bunch of people running from a wall. Mm-hmm. And it comes off a little more comically to me than I think they wanted it to. One thing we didn't touch on in this entire episode is the idea that the closer to the center of the Hex you are, the more closer you are to Wanda, the more active a character you are in her life.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's less about being closer to the center. It's more about being closer to Wanda.
Well, I think she's situated closer to the center of it.
Because the further away you are, the further to the edges you are of the Hex, the less you're doing.
You're just a drone on repeat. And then when he got right out to the edge, it was just people frozen. Mm-hmm. Because her brother does ask her at one point, it's like, how do you keep all these people? Like, where do you get all these people from when you need them? And he's like, what? You just keep the rest of them sleeping half the time so you don't traumatize them. And that's like.
So Vision sees one lady, and all she's doing is like hanging up something and then taking it down, and then trying to hang up one corner. She's hanging up one corner of like a banner or something.
I think it's like Halloween decorations or whatever.
Yeah, it's Halloween decorations. As she's doing it, there's like a tear coming down.
Oh my God.
Face.
Okay.
She's like not totally under because of how far she is from Wanda, but she is still clearly not in control of what she's doing.
I'm pretty sure you might not have, but have you seen the movie Get Out?
I know enough about it, yeah.
Know enough about it. That one scene is so similar to a couple of the characters in Get Out, because in Get Out, basically, it's white people that have bought the right to be inside these black people's bodies, and they're basically like, inceptioning in their bodies, but they still exist in the background, so they still like cry because they're like helpless to the new inhabitant basically in their body. This was so, like, I love that. There's a lot of messages in that movie that are questionable, and I'm not going to get into it because people will hate me. But this one scene where he comes across that one woman that's sort of just trapped in motion is so reminiscent of that, and took the show really quickly to such a dark place. Again, I'm very impressed because there's all like the kooky, magical Halloween, let's all have costumes and whatever, and then you get out here into this like dire situation where people are basically frozen in place. Because after that woman, who's barely moving at all, you get to the people that are literally just frozen where they stand at the outskirts of the town before he reaches the wall. But it's dark. It's a little bit dark because you wouldn't have. But again, it gets back to like, well, that's what a sitcom is like. Like, the characters don't exist until they need them for an episode. Like, if you think of any sitcom, the kids' school doesn't exist until they need an episode that revolves around something at the school. So now it retroactively makes you think about every sitcom you ever grew up on in a really, really weird sort of way, which I think is really cool. There was something else I was going to say, and now I can't think. Oh, the last thing we see as the hex expands is one of the people that gets sucked into the hex is Darcy. So we're left to wonder, what's Darcy going to turn into in the hex?
Except we're not, because we're going to the last episode.
Yeah, we are. Oh, come on, I wanted to do 5 seconds of cliffhanger or something.
Nope. No, because there's a good cliffhanger, an actual cliffhanger at the end of this episode.
Oh, I have to say, have you seen the post-credit scene?
What? There's a post-credit scene of that episode?
Of the one that was just yesterday?
Hang on. Talk. I'm going to look this up. You guys are going to hear my actual thoughts.
Okay.
The other episodes haven't had a post-credit scene.
I've checked every single one.
Wait, there's a post-credit for every single episode?
Is there?
No.
No, I'm saying I've checked every single one. I believe this is the first one.
Okay, hang on.
I just checked everything because Marvel sort of set the standard for the post-credit scene. It's why I don't leave a theater when the movie...
Well, that's why... Okay, so the first couple episodes, I didn't... I waited till the end, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess they're not doing it. I'm looking for the video right now. You guys are going to hear me.
This is riveting audio.
I know, it's riveting audio. I can't hear it.
Gonna just let it be intentionally awkward.
You're gonna let it be intentionally awkward?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually gonna take a nice long sip of my drink because I'm losing my voice like I usually do.
Great. I don't have sound. Why is there no sound? Hang on. Oh, it's because it's over here. I don't want it from the speaker bar. I want it into... which headphones? These? Are these the right headphones? Yes, okay, I'm watching it. So she's going over to the house and peeking in. I'm just gonna explain the credits.
You're narrating the post-credit scene.
I am, I'm narrating it. Okay, she's going into the basement now. Is this the basement of... Oh, okay, it's the basement of her house. Oh, rewind. Okay, that was... Was that it?
Was what it?
Was the thing about the guy that came up and said Snooper's gonna snoop?
Yep. That was it.
That was the whole in? Okay.
That was
All
it.
right.
Anyway, so now we can talk about the episode, right?
Yeah, sorry, guys. I didn't know there was a post-credit scene. Live reactions.
See, we keep introducing new stuff. We introduce you doing live reactions to stuff. We introduce Travis for his riveting commentary on the upcoming, what was it, Godzilla and Kong?
Where he's like, I have no
we
idea.
are constantly adding new aspects to the show because we're progressive like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't have any notes for this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say this is the episode that completes Wanda's mental breakdown. Mm-hmm. Everything keeps changing. All the bits of reality keep changing.
Well, it's now changing against her will. Like,
Yeah.
I thought this whole thing was going to be clearly she's expanded her powers too much. And so since she made the hex bigger, she's losing more control of the details of what's going on.
I think it could be because of the expansion, but like the expansion itself and the fact that she couldn't keep track of a whole world before she expanded, plus she's just losing control of her individual situation. I think those things all layer on top of each other, because even when before the hex expanded, she had people calling her out on her stuff, right? Like Vision figured stuff out. Vision's coworker, was saying stuff. Agnes, who we'll talk about later, was saying stuff.
But those are her not having control over people that have like individual like personalities and stuff.
But remember the episode where she was having her. Remember the episode when she was having her kid and the stork kept on coming by to like piss her off, and she tried to magic it away and it didn't work. And then when she's in labor, obviously the pipes burst because her water broke and all that kind of stuff. But I just, as a metaphor for her having a mental breakdown, the whole world sort of going in and out of phase worked really well. The one, it wasn't the most impressive by far, but the one that kind of got me was when her kids came up and it was like, there's something wrong with our game, and it goes from like a GameCube controller to like an Atari controller to something else, to a deck of Uno cards. And something about that, because the rest of the world, you can, if you want to put on a cynical hat, you're like, oh, they've clearly got a green screen there, and it just keeps flipping through stuff. And if you want to be cynical, then don't watch this show. But it's different when it's something that one of the characters is actually interacting with, and I thought it was just a really neat thing. But Agnes comes over and immediately offers to babysit the kids, and even makes a joke about if the kids misbehave, I ate a kid once. Because that's not dark. And Vision, for some reason, is still exactly where she left him after she brought him sort of back into the Hex, or made the Hex take him back in.
She didn't bring him. She brought him back. She made the Hex bring him in, so he was still like on the outskirts of town.
Yeah, like
over by the circus. Now.
Well, that's why I correct myself. Like, she didn't bring him back in. She sort of made the Hex scoop him up. But he meets up with Darcy and sort of realizes who she is. But as a WandaVision character, she's the escape artist of the circus.
Of the circus, yeah.
And when she doesn't get it at first, she thinks that he's just hitting on her, which was hilarious. It's awesome because Kat Dennings is a sitcom person. Mm-hmm. So if anybody's going to pull off the sort of kooky, campy stuff, it's going to be her. But then he zaps her out of it. She decks the strong man, who's like a foot taller than her, and they just get away in his like falafel van. And
and in the funnel cake van.
Funnel cake, sorry. And it's just an exposition dump after that.
Yeah, it's just like, here's everything that happened to you outside of the Hex. You don't listen to all of it, but basically you come back into parts of their conversation where she's like, yeah, and then you died.
Well, she killed you, technically, but it was to save the universe. I mean, half the universe. But then the bad guy rewinded things, and then he killed you. So, yeah. So what am I now? I don't know.
I thought she was going to say something profound, and I think it would have been weird coming out of the Darcy character. But in that moment, I was like, you're an Avenger.
Yeah. No, but I thought it was...
would have been like, but after I finished the episode and everything I said, had she said that, I feel like it would have been out of character for her.
And see, I was thinking the opposite when that happened, was I thought we were going to get a really cheesy sort of sitcom moment, like when somebody finishes up with a big struggle and then, oh, what do I do now? And somebody comes and puts a loving hand on their shoulder and is like, you go be whatever you want to be. I'm like, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Don't do it.
Like,
don't do it.
There's a time for that, and it is not now. So we found out in the last episode that Monica Rambeau was figuring out what kinds of radiation were in the wall of the Hex and what she would need to get through it. She had some sort of technician that was going to give her some kind of magic vehicle to get through the hex without being transformed again, because Darcy tells her, like, yeah, look,
Yeah,
if you
they talked about it in an earlier episode where she's, like, drawing up the schematics for this thing, and she's like, I need something that has, like, this kind of armor plating and this kind of this and blah, 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 blah.
Okay, and here's what I love, right? We did a podcast not too long ago about Spider-Man and about all the things that are rumored to be in Spider-Man, and we made some pretty redonkulous suggestions / hey, this might happen, this might lead to this, whatever, because Marvel lets you do that. But the people that immediately thought that this was how they were going to introduce the Fantastic Four, and that the Fantastic Four were just going to magically give her, like, a tank, but, like, a super tech
Reed Richards was going to show up.
Yeah, super nerdy, like, tech tank, and it's like, no. And it just ends up being...
That would be a dumb way to introduce the Fantastic Four.
To introduce the Fantastic Four as tech support.
You introduce the Fantastic Four in a post-credit scenes where they, like, show up for a second so that everybody can be like, oh, holy fuck! That's how you introduce the Fantastic Four.
I won't be holy fuck, but alright. It's fine. It's fine. Bring back Jessica Alba disappearing, and she becomes a floating bra for the whole movie. It's okay. It's all good. But I mean, I've seen a lot of people, like even the people whose opinions that I usually go to, saying that the reveal was disappointing. I don't think the reveal was disappointing at all. I think it made total logical sense. She went to another military connection that she had, who was a friend of her mother's, and basically said, like, hey, this is our, like, space, whatever it is, drone. And they bring out this 6-wheel thing to drive in.
Basically, it's like a really souped up moon buggy. Basically.
Yeah, and you get the idea that it's been reinforced, like, for, I don't know, if you're fighting on a radioactive planet. I'm pulling things out of my ass because I don't remember what they actually said. But the minute I saw that she had gone to somebody and created a vehicle where it would cause things not to be changed by going through the wall of the hex, immediately, and I was immediately proven wrong, but immediately I thought, if that thing can go through the wall of the hex without changing anything inside it, that'll be how Vision and the kids get out. And then immediately she tries to go through the wall of the hex, and the front of it turns into...
like, the wall of the hex is like, fuck you, basically.
It turns this big high-tech, like, tank drone thing into, like, Jimmy John's pickup from down the road.
She tries to get through it, and it starts rewriting everything. First, it won't let her through, and then it starts like driving up the side of it, and then as it's like, I guess, falling in from gravity.
to see the wall of the hex come up through the bottom of the... Again,
yeah.
I'm getting hung up on visuals a lot on this show, but the way that they saw that sort of coming up through the floor, it was the digital equivalent of, okay, your car just like flew out into the water, and you're seeing the water come up.
Yeah,
except basically. It was like the digital signal, and she was running from the digital signal diagonally because her car... I'm making hand motions that nobody can see because this is an audio platform, but basically her car's on an angle, so she's trying to escape at an angle so she doesn't get absorbed in all this like static mess that she's in.
Mm-hmm.
But then that big, reinforced armored thing that tried to go through the hex couldn't...
Can we talk about, before we go into that, can we talk about how, like, I don't know what it was about the vehicle, because it gets half transformed before it gets thrown back out. And so it's like still souped up moon buggy from like the middle back.
Yep.
And it's like a van.
And from the front it's Billy John's pickup truck.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was, but they didn't hang on it too long, but I feel like it looked, the way they were able to do it. And still, because it looked like there's a little bit of the hex still like on the seam of those two realities, basically.
Yes.
I don't know. I thought it looked really cool.
That's not a gag you can do too many times. Like, I didn't want to see like the bee catcher or whatever that came up out of the pipe. I don't want to see him stuck halfway in the wall and half of him is normal and half of him is spaced out. That's a gag they can do like once or twice. If after that they keep doing it, so look, we did a bunch of half stuff, that'll get old really quick. But if this being the first one that I can imagine where they did that, I think you're right. I think it was done pretty well. Just don't do it. Don't repeat the joke too many times.
And they also don't freeze on it very long.
No.
Like, you don't get a very good look at it.
No, you get enough of a look just to see, like, what they're implying.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, go ahead.
So she gets out of the van. She's able to get out before it gets flung off into the distance. And then in her mind, she's like, I can still get through it. So she takes off back towards the hex, run, and she's able to push through it. And I'm like, this is what happens. This is where she becomes Photon. This is when she gets her powers.
And this is the first time we've seen a visualization of what it's like for somebody to go through that wall. Because we saw Vision come through the wall in the previous episode where he's coming apart and whatever, but we didn't see it from his point of view. We just saw it from the point of view of people that saw it on the other side. This sort of, it wasn't slow motion, but it felt like slow motion at the same time, of her going through and sort of getting torn apart and put back together, and torn apart and put back together, and all the voiceovers from the Captain Marvel movie and all that sort of thing. And she comes out on the other side still looking the same. Or, yeah, I would say looking the same, not being the same, because obviously she's been taken apart and put back together a bunch of times. I kind of want Rocket Raccoon to show up and just do his little speech about being taken apart and put back together and taken apart. And then you can bring in Nebula, because she was taken apart and put back together and taken apart and put back together. Marvel Universe is really just made up of a bunch of puzzle people, is what I'm realizing as I say that. But she goes to Wanda's place and tries to like reason with Wanda, which makes no sense if you think about it from Wanda's point of view, because as far as she's concerned, this chick is one of the people that just sent a drone to strike her house.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, it's not true, and we know it's not true. Like, the dramatic irony is there. But as far as she's concerned, but at the same time, she gets knocked back and lands on the concrete, and you see the blue energy for the first time, and you get this idea that something's going on. Actually, I'm a liar. She came through the wall, and her eyes were all lit up blue, and she could see the fakeness of the world. Like, she could see the through other spectrums and see all the energy radiating off of everything, like all the energy that it took to make that world. I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And like you said with the truck, they didn't stay on that too long. They just sort of let you see, like, hey, this is what she's seeing for a second. Because apparently, you can tell me if you know differently, because you know more about the comics than I do. Apparently, one of Photon's things is she can see things in different spectrums. Like, she can go to infrared, she can go to night vision, she can go to, like, energy vision. So for her to see the fakeness of that world while she's stood in it, I thought was a really cool thing, and something I hope they play with later on down the line.
Also, I would like to add that when she does make it to the other side, she does a pseudo superhero landing.
Yeah, she does.
And as soon as I'm like, this is where she gets her powers, and then as soon as she came out, she lands one knee down, fist on the ground. I go, superhero landing.
Yep. Thanks for that, Deadpool. She nailed the superhero landing. Anyway, so they're about to have a huge fight, which I'm sure is going to happen eventually, because up until the end of this episode that we're going to talk about in a second, they've done a pretty good job of playing the story that Wanda is the main character of this show, but she's also kind of the villain without really meaning to be. So you could have seen very, very easily, like, if they were going to have, like, you know, big old magic fight, like Wanda, who's sort of coming to grips with her powers, and Photon, who's like, oh shit, I got powers. But then out comes Agnes, the good neighbor Agnes, who's always there. I messed up the joke there. That sucks.
Yep.
And basically says, you know what, you need to leave her alone. You know, Wanda, why don't you come with me? And she brings her to the house. And things just aren't right. Like, without out and out saying it, the inside of Agnes's house is kind of gothic looking. And she says she's going to get her, I think she says she's going to get her some tea or whatever, but then she looks and sees the sandwiches and the sandwiches on the table and the kids program on the TV, and where are the twins? And she says, oh, well, the twins are playing down in the basement, and the basement is creepy as fuck. Like, if this was a different kind of show, this is where the rapist lives.
Yeah.
Because it's super creepy basement full of a bunch of, like, gothic imagery and all that sort of thing. Doors close. Agnes comes down, introduces herself as Agatha Harkness. You get the whole what you didn't think you were.
You get a montage of what she's been doing.
Oh, not yet, not yet,
side.
not yet. I think the best thing first was, did you think you were the only one in here that could do magic? And she's petting the rabbit, like she's doing the evil villain strokes the cat thing, except with a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do the montage of all the things that she's set in place over the last couple of things, but they give her her own show introduction, as if to say this show that you've been watching all along was actually the Agatha show, which I think is awesome. And it leaves you with Wanda's face crackling with energy, but it's crackling with the purple energy of Agatha Harkness, not her own like bright red energy. So is she momentarily brainwashed? We don't know. Where are the twins?
It's an actual cliffhanger.
Well, it's more like a basement hanger. Because they're not on a cliff.
Nope, you don't get that one. That was bad. That wasn't even a dad joke, dude. That one didn't even make sense.
Well, that's good because I don't have any kids. So if I tried to tell a dad joke, that would be a real faux pas. Which does leave us with the basement hanger. We go into the credits, and then we get to the post-credit scene that Kristen just watched live with all of you, which is Photon sneaking around Agatha Harkness's house, taking a peek into the basement, seeing all the purple energy radiating out from outside, and we see the return of, it's not Pietro, but we don't know who the hell it actually is, and he just says, snoopers are gonna snoop, eh? And we don't know what happens to Monica. We don't know what's happened to Wanda. We really don't know where Vision
Yeah, that's
is.
true. Vision flew off too and left Darcy in a in the van.
In the what is it? The funnel cake truck.
The funnel cake truck. So
Because
we don't know where anyone is.
Until
we
he
don't
decides
know where the kids are.
Until he decides to fly away. I do like the gag of, because Wanda controls the city, like she keeps on bringing in more things that are going to block them from actually coming back into the city. Like there's construction, and then there's a long traffic light, and then there's a teacher with a string of kids like taking them from nowhere to nowhere. So we don't know where.
And then Vision has a moment where he's like, "Oh yeah, I could just fly," and he just leaves.
I do like in this episode as well because they were doing the Modern Family, where they sit down outside of what's actually happening and talk about it and whatever.
Yeah, and they have the interview.
And he's doing that and literally stops him and is like, "Why am I doing this? I need to go find my wife."
Yeah.
Oh man, this is all kinds of fun. I think we're rambling through it because we just dissected 3 episodes in one podcast, but this is just a lot of fun. Like, there's so much they could do with this. A lot of people are speculating that the one that we thought was Pietro is actually Mephisto or Nightmare. Nightmare is speculated to be the main villain of what's it called? Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So either one of those is fine. Those are not characters that I've seen in a show or a movie before, so that's cool for me. If it's the other way around, if he's somebody that's just sort of working with and for Agatha, that's also pretty cool. There was, before we figured out who he actually was, there was the idea that Wanda, the same way that she had projected an alive version of Vision onto his dead body, she had also taken her memories of her brother and just projected them onto some random citizen in the city, and that's why it didn't look like her real brother. So that's something that they could have played around with and didn't, because that was 2 weeks ago. But
I mean, they still might. We don't know who he is.
Yeah, but the thing about that bugs me is if he is like strictly like Agatha Harkness's like acolyte, for lack of a better term, would she not have made him look as much like her real brother as possible to keep the illusion going? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
I'm interested to see how they choose to explain it.
I'm interested to see if they try to tell us that if it's actually him at all or just some dude. Because if it's just some dude, I'll be okay with that. If it's a matter of like they're gonna bring in actual buddy from what was it, Ultron, and
Yeah.
actually bring him back to life to be like, no, I'm the real Pietro, and then you just have like a Quicksilver versus Quicksilver fight, which they would have to slow down, and it would be weird, but I don't know, that would be kind of cool, because we're going to see Magic versus Magic at some point, so if you want to do like Speed versus Speed, it'll be like the Superman and the Flash race at the end of Justice League.
Yeah.
It'll be relatively pointless because neither one of them are the main character, but that's fine. Anyways, so what do we have to say that we haven't said already?
I don't have anything to say that I haven't said already.
We've sort of sucked the life out of everything we could possibly talk about. What do you want in the last, what is it? This is episode 7, so we got 2 episodes left. What do you want out of these last 2 episodes?
I want the kids to make it, because I feel like they have to at this point. I don't know. A lot of people are talking about how they bring Vision back. I don't think they should, because I feel like the whole episode was supposed to be about
her getting over him.
Yeah, her dealing with her grief about everything.
Well, I think we said it closer to the beginning. Elizabeth Olsen herself said before the show even started, she's like, I want this to be like a good, positive, empowering metaphor for like mental health and grieving and getting on with life and whatever. And if she somehow finds a way to keep him alive and he keeps on into like further MCU stuff, I think that sort of like shoots that in the ass a little bit.
I totally agree.
So he has to die, they have to live.
Yeah.
Or, oh man, this is where I'm going to lean on you again because you've got the actual comic book knowledge. Don't her kids die in the comics? Like, don't they get sucked back into Mephisto? And she like,
I believe so, yeah.
And she like rematerializes them like after the fact?
I think so, yeah. I would have to, I'm not as well versed. I'm going to look and see. I'm going to see if I can scroll through here real quick as we continue to talk about this shit.
Everybody continue to be quiet so we can listen to Kristen Googling.
Jerk.
The amount I lean on you for like Google and Wikipedia type stuff, I think we should create an entirely different form of martial arts just for you. You are the master of Goo-Fu.
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 Goo-Wiki.
No, it'd be Wiki-Fu.
Wiki-Fu.
Wiki-Goo-Fu. That sounds like a mythical character, and I'm not doing that again.
Never again. But, yeah, her kids have to live. I would be really pissed if they don't make it. And I've tried to. I have not read any spoilers. I've tried to not read into any theories or anything like that because I just want to kind of. I say this every time. I just kind of want to see the story that Marvel puts up there, and then if I don't like it, and I'm like, oh, this is how I would do it. I do that afterwards.
Right. Well, I'm not. This is the thing, though. I'm not. I mean, I do look for. Like not spoilers, but predictions per se, and I don't think. I mean, we did this a lot with movies as well. I think we did this right before Infinity War. I don't think, hey, what would you like to see in this movie or this show is the same as what do you think is going to happen? Because I said I wanted what was it, Tony Stark and Star-Lord and Doctor Strange to just get into an argument with each other because they're all sarcastic assholes. I didn't think that was actually going to happen. We got pretty close between Stark and Strange. But, I don't know. I want to see a big magic fight. I've sold myself now on the idea of a speed fight. Because of the ultimate purpose of this show being to lead to Multiverse of Madness, I do hope that there is a quick Doctor Strange cameo. Some people are saying that like he's going to be the one.
Maybe it'll be the end of the episode.
He'll be the one that has to come down and pull her out. I don't think you do that because then all of a sudden you've made the Wanda show into a Doctor Strange show because he's the one that had to come in and save the day. So I don't think narratively that's great, but to have him in the post-credit scene of the last episode and be like, hey, you think that was bad? There's many more problems to solve, or something ominous like that, I think would be really good. Supposedly the last 3 episodes were supposed to be an hour long each. This one definitely wasn't. So I don't know what to do with that rumor for the last 2 episodes. I wouldn't doubt that the last episode will be an hour, but next one we'll see. So in 2 weeks, we will talk about.
Do you want to hear the fruits of my Google search?
The Wikigoofu?
The Wikigoofu. Apparently, so they do die. They're made from slivers of Mephisto's soul, and then they are reabsorbed and cease to exist. But then apparently their souls were reincarnated later. So they're born to, like, different parents. Like, they're twins, but they aren't.
So her kids that were never really alive in the first place are reincarnated.
Yes.
So, but if they were never alive in the first place, then they're not reincarnated. They were just carnated.
That is what I'm reading right here. Yeah.
Thank you, Wikigoofu. This has been a heck of an episode. I know it's been all over the place. I do thank you guys for listening. Kristen, tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at BlackCatFeline, where I rarely tweet.
It's true.
And you can find me on Instagram at BlackCatFeline, where I rarely Instagram.
And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. She's been Kristen. This has been Flix Fix. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Kristen are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Bye.